Okay, hello everyone. This is Group 4 of Business Ethics International MBA program of Gadjah Mada University. Mm, our group consists of me, Abdurrahman Faiq, and my partner, Antoine Grenard. So, in this opportunity, we would like to discuss about the ethical view of the Intel's rebates case. So, in the microprocessors market in 1999, Intel at the moment had a more than 90% of market share in microprocessors, and the closest competition it has is AMD, which had around 9% of the market share. The characteristics of this market, it has a very high barriers to entry because it is very expensive to create facilities to produce microprocessors, and Intel and AMD was already very experienced that it became difficult for new entries to create competitive product. And the third reason, the microprocessors that are usable in almost all kind of personal computers are patented by Intel and AMD. Despite being the top microprocessor producer, Intel are sued several times for anti-competitive behavior by various institutions, not only AMD. Why did that happen? I guess we can start the story from the case of x86 processors. So at the time, the processors commonly used were x86 type, and both the companies can produce this type of processors. However, this is a disadvantage for Intel because on the long term, AMD might catch up and earn more market share if they are able to create a more faster processors. And because of that concern, Intel decided to be creative and develop new type of processors called Titanium. Since the new processors that Intel developed didn't use x86 technology, there was a problem of compatibility with software that run on x86 technology. So the programs that usually runs well in x86 technology, it is become a bit slow if it is run on Titanium microprocessors. As expected, because of that, customers moved to AMD, and AMD gained a lot of market share, and Intel lost quite a lot of market share. And because of this, the rebate strategy was launched by Intel. However, we would observe that what Intel did was not a simple rebate. Why? So this is the reason. So rebates usually are used as a marketing strategy to give incentive for loyal exclusive customers by giving discounts, returns after a purchase. But what Intel did was not simply a rebate, because the agreement of the rebates was to stop the PC computers manufacturers to buy from the AMD. So it doesn't have any relation with how much the PC computers buy from Intel. The agreement is you don't buy AMD. And then, since Intel was a big player and microprocessor is very essential to every personal computer, the threat to the PC computers worked. And throughout 2000 until 2005, there were several computer manufacturer companies that suddenly stopped buying from AMD microprocessors. From AMD's view, the executive VP mentioned that it was an exercise of monopoly power. However, from the Intel's defense, if it's not wrong for small companies to give customer rebates, why should it be wrong for a larger company to do the same? And he also mentioned that using AMD in large numbers and many different programs, AMD chips did not run as fast as they first had appeared to. Because of this gray area, AMD was very at a disadvantage, so they decided to sue Intel. And then, following the lawsuit, the investigation from Federal Trade Commission found several facts. The reason why some software runs slowly on AMD processor is because Intel had changed the program of software companies so that it would not work well with companies using AMD. Intel provided software companies with libraries of source code that were also designed to trip up programs when they ran on AMD computers. And it was true that Intel boycotted AMD by giving rebates to companies that agreed not to buy AMD processors. So one of the company that is a clear example of the Intel rebate strategy was Dell. In 2001, Dell stopped using AMD's processors even though many of its customers wanted computers with AMD processors. And in 2002, according to Dell's memo, Intel's officials would say to Dell COO in a negotiation, without being blatant, Intel will make it clear that Dell won't get more payments if we use AMD processors, and we'll get less and someone else will get ours. So, the threat worked to Dell, and due to the fear of retaliation from Intel, Dell kept using Intel as its suppliers even though they were constantly losing market shares. On the other side, Intel kept increasing its payments to Dell for not using AMD. So it went on until 2006, and because Dell kept losing its customers, finally they decided to break away from its agreement to not use AMD processors. And when Dell released more computers with AMD, Intel decreased its payment to Dell. Dell was perceived as the most admired companies in America because of its profitability. No one knew that on the backstage, the profit was pumped by the Intel. So in the end, U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission accused Dell and its officers of deceiving investors who had been told by a company that its high profits were due to its ultra-efficient of supply chain management. And that was the bad effect that Dell got from Intel's rebate. On the other side, how much Intel gets from the strategy? In 2001 until 2003, the sales of Intel increased 22.5%, and the profits increased 350%. And according to Michael Dell, the CEO of Dell, not even Microsoft can do that. So, at the end of the case, what happened to the FTC lawsuit? So, the lawsuit never made it to the court because Intel had agreed to settle the FTC's antitrust lawsuit. Because Intel finally agreed to settle the FTC's antitrust lawsuit, and they paid $1.25 billion to settle with AMD's lawsuit. Under the settlement, Intel will be prohibited from conditioning benefits to computer makers in exchange for their promise to buy chips from Intel exclusively, or to refuse to buy chips from others, and retaliating against computer makers if they do business with non-Intel suppliers by withholding benefits from them. And Intel was prohibited from using its compilers or its libraries of software code to inhibit the ability of programs to run on competitors' microprocessor. However, many argued that it no longer mattered since Intel had succeeded to capture the market of x86 processors. And once again, AMD's become the trailing competitors and Intel dominate the market. And getting into the discussion, the question one of the case is, in your judgment, is Intel a monopoly? And did Intel use monopoly-like power? In other words, did Intel achieve its objective by relying on power that it had due to its control of a large portion of the market? Explain your answers. So, first we need to define what is monopoly, and based on the book of Velasquez, monopoly market has two key features. That the first one is one dominant seller with 100% market share, or more than 90% with other companies less than 1%. Because AMD has around 9%, so it is not satisfied. And the second one is there is a barrier to entry, and this is true in microprocessors market. So this is satisfied. Because one of the feature is not satisfied. Therefore, we'd like to categorize the market as a highly concentrated market. So the second question is, did Intel achieve its objective by relying on power, on power that it had to the large portion of the market? Yes, by paying money or rebates to PC manufacturers, and they also threatened the companies by warning them that if they did not stop using AMD, Intel might stop supplying them with any microprocessors from Intel. And the threat was serious for PC manufacturers, since there were types of computers that couldn't be accommodated by AMD processors. So these 2 points are examples of achieving objective by relying on power. Answer is yes, Intel achieved its objective by abusing their power on the market. So, question 2, in your judgment, were the Intel's rebate ethical or unethical? Explain your answer. So, in evaluating the Intel's rebate event, we would like to evaluate it from 4 moral reasoning perspective, and the first 2 is utility and justice. So, based on utilitarian view, by doing rebates with agreement to stop PC manufacturers using AMD microprocessors, Intel limited supplies for customer, and it also made PC manufacturers pressured and not able to provide their customers' needs. Since these activities did not maximize benefits and minimize costs, so in utilitarian view, it was unethical. From justice perspective, we break down to egalitarian perspective and capitalist perspective. In egalitarian perspective, the rebates were not just, because Intel gained so much, while AMD and PC manufacturers, they experienced decrease in sales and losing customers' trust. However, in capitalist view, the principle is one should get benefits based on how much they contributed. The rebate strategy was just because at the time, since Intel has the ability to influence the market, it was fair that they get so much profit from their strategy. We also need to remember that the rebate strategy requires a lot of money. So, in a way, contributed a lot to the market. From the right's view, the rebate was unethical because it violates the right of AMD to stay competitive in the market. It also violates the negative rights of PC manufacturers to bring diverse types of computers for the customers. By doing so, it indirectly violated the right of PC users by limiting the variance of computers on the market. Intel abused the power it has on the market to decide what their customers have to do. And from caring perspective, the rebate was also unethical, since the PC manufacturers was forced to buy Intel even though they are losing the market. It harmed their business and customer. It was also very cruel, seeing how AMD business that was growing plummeted and in some area become virtually zero when the PC customers no longer bought from AMD.
So, was it unethical for Intel to use its compilers and its libraries of software code in the way they did? Here we have to begin with the notion and the meaning of what is a perfectly competitive market. So in microeconomy, we have the supply curve, we have the demand curve, and determining the price is only based on what the actors and what the person want to do, and at what cost they are ready to pay. Or so here we have three different views to say that finally this is not ethical at all. So first of all, the justice view. So as we say with Faiq, determining a price should be the result of supply and demand curve, as I said. So the problem here is that actors like Dell are being forced to buy products instead of AMD as one. And we have the example with Dell. They would like to buy AMD's processors, but they just can't. They have a contract. They have a hidden contract, if I can say. So by forcing suppliers to only produce computer with Intel processor, it means that the consumers are unfairly contributing more to the market. And so this is perceived by the customers as more contribution. Therefore, the usage of compilers and software libraries from Intel is unethical. Secondly, we have the utilitarian view, which lead to say that it is unethical too. So always this notion of a perfectly competitive market. So everybody on this market and in this dream model wants to maximize his utility. So it means that resources are allocated effectively. So ultimately the cultivation of effective market is that customers are able to buy the most satisfying goods. But in this case, we have on one side Intel that is maximizing its utility by using this the compilers. But on the other hand, we have the consumer's utility, which is not maximized because the available product they have on the market is not the result of the combination of price and quantities that satisfies the most their need. And finally, we have the rights view. So we have this concept of choice, of free choice. So if a person doesn't buy things on its own will, we have a problem. And so the customer only receive a little part of the product information too. So in this case, Intel misguided customers and lead them to buy Intel instead of AMD PC. So this free choice is very important, and it is very important when no sellers exert coercion by dictating prices, quantities, or kinds of good consumers must buy. So yes, we think that they violated the negative right of consumers to choose product freely with full information, and that is really important here too. So what about the Sherman Antitrust Act now? So it is a federal law passed in 1890s that prohibits competitors from getting together to reduce competition or using monopoly power to keep or expand a monopoly. And here we have two key sections that really interest us, that are really interesting us. So the first one is that every contract combination or conspiracy in restraint of trade or commerce among the several states or with, for example, foreign nations, is hereby declared illegal. And the second one is every person who shall monopolize or attempt to monopolize or combine or conspire with any other person or persons to monopolize any part of the trade or commerce among the several states, it's a bit long, but or with foreign nation shall be deemed guilty or a felony. So let's begin with the rebates strategy. So Intel is clearly trying to build up its monopoly with implementing rebates. So when they propose to Dell to have more rebates based just on the fact that they don't have to go somewhere else or to buy products for AMDs, for example, it is clearly something that is unacceptable for the Antitrust Act. Yes, this strategy violates both sections, and so that is an attempt to monopolize clearly. And in 1914, the antitrust laws were expanded by the Clayton Act. And this act prohibits anti-competitive behavior, and one of them is exclusive dealing contract. So it is clearly what Intel was trying to do with Dell and others company. And to go further, we have this other strategy, which is we can say the compilers strategy. And it's a bit different there because they were already in a position of monopoly, and they tried to benefit this position by implementing a strategy, so the comparers one, by using their power as a market leader, and in the trade of microprocessor industry, they wanted to drive AMD out of the market with their new brand of microprocessor and their new product that couldn't fit existing product. Yes, so this is clearly an endorsed to Section 2. And Section 2 is about person who are trying to monopolize or combine or conspire with any other person. So we have here Intel that is trying to monopolize, and we have Dell that is trying to and helping. So yeah, this is just not in line with the German Antitrust Act.